And for world traveller Maureen and Adamson, affectionately known as Mo, her last journey began on April the 10th, 2025, at the age of 70. Mo was born in Scotland on the February 7th, 1955, and survived by her husband of 38 years, Neil, and daughter Kaylee, and siblings Kate, Eileen, Kevin and Barry. Travelling to many countries for work. February 20th, 1987, she and Neil married and lived in Birmingham. In 1988, they emigrated to Fort Myers, Florida, where Mo helped open Gulf Coast Hospital in 1992, and later the Children's Wing in 1994. Through her career of 47 years as a registered nurse, she was recognised within the community for her hard work, leadership and compassionate care she provided to every family with whom she came into contact. Mo's passing has left a void in the hearts of all the lives she touched. She was an inspiration to those who mentored her and all who witnessed the pure strength she had to survive the countless battles of her illness. With a warm, kind and caring heart, she always offered love, support and wisdom. She'd say to you she's no longer with us, but to remember her for the life she had lived. Mo would want all who knew her to continue to carry on her legacy, love and laughter. Her life and accomplishments will be celebrated at Coleridge Funeral Home, da-da-da-da. Okay, so I'd like to now start. Oh, sorry, make sure all your phones are up, please. I've got my phone. Because he's in her room. That's his granny. Sorry, that's his mother. Our granny, Maureen's granny. Her name is Mary Alice Kavanagh. This is 1917. 6 months after Dad is born, she's dead. Spanish flu pandemic. Dies at 34, and the Spanish flu pandemic tended to kill people in their 20s and 30s because it made the immune system overreact. Younger people and older people tended to survive it. This is Patrick Christopher Leahy, Maureen's granddad, my granddad, and he survives, lives, has another wife, and lives to be 81. So 34 and 81. Next one, please. Here we are. This is my dad, Bernard William Leahy. Okay, and you'll see it's got a wee badge here. It's called Anoiga. It means the Irish Apostolic Movement, and it's what my dad lived off when he was a teenager in his 20s. Okay, next one, please. Now, we're trying to make this quite brief. So, Dad's born in Dublin. Okay, he trains with an uncle in school. He's highly qualified. He eventually gets a job with his uncle and trains as a welder. And then he moves to Belfast during the Second World War, and he joins Eileen, Kevin, Brian, and yours truly. Okay? This is our living room. By the way, this is one of the posh houses in the side. It's got 5 rooms, right? Just like Eileen and Maynard live in a posh house in the same room as us. Okay? But it's got 5 rooms, right? But it just means that the 3 boys have 1 bedroom, the 3 girls have 1 bedroom, and Mum and Dad get a bedroom. The best arrangement, of course, is the toilets. Sorry for the youngsters here, but there's only 1 toilet. There's no shower, you get a bath, usually weekly. So what do you do to clean yourself? Well, generally speaking, you do what's called the bits that tell and the bits that smell. Okay? So that's how you work your way through the body. When it comes to bath time, you don't get a bath, you share. Right? So the first 2 get the hot, clean, but Maureen did really, really well. And she got on, she did well until she went on to high school, St Andrews. The other thing about life here is diseases. Our Brian got a disease called osteomyelitis. It's a bone disease, and it might be the reason why he died back in 2000. Here, or Adamson is here, okay? And in the Catholic Church, for communion, you would dress up as though you were getting married. A bride of Christ was the idea behind it all. And it was a very, very big deal. Right, so, there she is again.
from, and she'd take 2 kids. So she'd take the 2 boys or the 2 girls or the twins. And my dad did the same. He would take you on the boat over to Ireland and that. So we did get holidays now and then, but never together. So mostly it was a real treat, together on a holiday. And we all flew, and my mum hadn't been in a plane since the Second World War. So she took a bottle of brandy. Because she'd been in a plane that had no seats in it apparently. Taken up by a flyboy.
Ryan, yeah, done it.
It's enough, no airplane. But now, this is a photo of Maureen at school at St Andrews in Kirkcaldy. St Columbus wasn't built by that time, so it was the high school in St Columbus in Cowdenbeath and St Margaret's in Dunfermline, and then St Columbus was built later. Now Maureen, that smooth hair that you see there, Maureen used to get up and iron her hair every morning with a brown paper bag, and she drove my mother insane, absolutely insane, because she never put the iron away. In a key area where nobody else could move. And so that's a regular fight in the house. The girl standing to, is it your left? Is Frances McCusker. Is it on your right? I can't see it. Frances, you know who you are. So this part of the slideshow is called Holidays and Holidays. Bloody and a girl called Anne Johnson, who's all friends. Was there anybody else who was at St Andrews? No. And they were all pals, and I think, Frances, have you got anything you want to share with us?
No.
That isn't illegal?
Well, that would reduce the amount of time that I might say something. I think when I first met Mo, the thing that got me was how she laughed. As she spoke, she laughed. She was sort of bubbling with joy, maybe because she wasn't at home with her family, but I obviously feeling like a happy family, and I was really lucky because I got to stay at the League House because you were at university and Dundee, so I think I got your bed. I stayed regularly. I never had to stay long, and it was just an overnight while we went off underage drinking and dancing. And I never had to try and have a shower or a bath. But I did have to use the Isle toilet. No, Mo was just someone that we had in our lives and had good fun with throughout. And the stories that we want to tell, we were going to later. It's just lovely to get to know the wider family as well as a pal like mine.
I said to Frances, I don't remember you or Shona staying in the house, and she said, no, because we were in your bed. That's how we share everything.
Yeah, and we also got the chance when you were away from your flat in Dundee, we'd hitch up to Dundee and stay in your flat instead of
This is a nice picture of Anne Johnson. Anne was at school with Maureen, and Anne was going to come today, but she couldn't manage, so she asked me to read a wee thing, if you don't mind. I don't think I can multitask. I'm shaking with nerves at the moment. Memories of Mo, she says. First, I'm so sorry that Bob and I can't be with you today. My fault entirely, messing up the diary. Mo and I, as you may know, made your way and became very close friends in high school until I selfishly left, suddenly giving no warning to anyone. Bit of a wild child. I have fond memories of spending time with your family during sleepovers at Leslie Road, when Mo and I would go to the dancing. Sadly, we lost touch for a number of years, and only by meeting my now daughter-in-law and chatting about the sign where the wheels put in motion, allowing us to meet again. Your dad was a bit suspicious when I phoned him, out of the blue, asking about Maureen. However, he did let her know, and voila, we were soon chatting. Turns out we had both become nurses, and Bob and I had travelled many times to Florida, passing by their place, not knowing how a meal were there. Needless to say, we visited Cape Coral on our next trip and never looked back. The years melted away, and she often said that we were meant to be close friends forever. She did forgive me for deserting her in high school. We have so many happy memories over the years spending time with Mo, Neil and Kaylee. Also with them meeting our son David, daughter-in-law Karen and granddaughter Sophie. Mo spoiled Sophie, sending gifts home with us. She had a generous nature, great sense of humour, and they were both the most welcoming hosts. There's so much I could say and stories to share, but you just need to know that we loved you, Mo, and treasured the precious time we had with you. And I've got loads, and on the slideshow I've got loads of, I've been spending this morning deleting them off because they weren't coming. I had loads of pictures of Anne and her husband, nurse. But we always got back together as a family. This was my mum and dad's silver wedding, and probably one of the few pictures where we're all the children together. And Brian, Paddy looked like Geronimo, I think. I used to be Brian, looked like Robert Redford because my moustache. And his wife Grace, some people might remember, was at school. She was in my year at school, and Brian and Grace got together. Again, more of the silver wedding. And if you look, I'm going to ask you a question at the end. How many photos Maureen's in with either a drink or a fag? And she does it with such poise. You don't actually envy say it's another fag. Well, Eileen was married, and Maureen and I were both bridesmaids. This gentleman might recognise himself. This is you, Eric. I told you were in the slideshow. And this is my dad who liked to dance. Maureen was probably suffering there, but kept on a brave smile. She stayed at this time, she would often come home. I think this was her visiting Eileen. She would come and help me with school trips. This was one, I managed to keep the kids out of this picture. She was great. This is her after being in India. She said, "Oh, you should be in this photo." And I was amazed at that. She said, "People look at you," and I thought, well, I've spent my entire life having people looking at you. So, in fact, when we were younger, Maureen would always get into the ballroom, and I would have to lie and cheat. And I was of age. I never got in. I was waiting for some evidence. By this time, Mo and Eric were an item, and this is them on a dressing up, doing the familiar. It's a lovely photo, Eric. I hope you know which one is Mo and which one is Eric. But she was full of fun, and she would be up for anything like that. This now is Dean Village. Eric, I think, was very helpful in getting Wood in his flat in Edinburgh, and we all went there. John and I did a bit of coaching in Dean Village, bedroom, I think, so, or something like that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, sorry, John. And we would all go there. It was such a lovely flat. And I just look at my notes, I'm tearing through this with nerves. I think Shona and Lydia, you maybe had stories of this time of life in Edinburgh. I think Maureen shared a flat with
Francis's Edinburgh flat. You just might have slightly later on.
All right, okay. So do you want to say anything just now, or about your time in Edinburgh? Did you know Maureen then as a student?
No, I met Maureen when I was 12. We were in, and this is a story Maureen loved to tell me every time she saw me. We were in the cookery class, and she was at the station behind me. And I turned around and I said, "Maureen, have you got a spare pork?" And she went, "What?" I said, "Have you got a spare pork for my cakes?" And she went, "Pork? You want me to poke you?" I said, "No, I want a spare pork." She'd never heard the word pork. Yes, everybody in this room has heard the word pork. But Maureen, and I thought, because she was posh. So anyway, we eventually discovered that I wasn't asking her to poke me, which she was really relieved about. And then we kind of knew each other at school, but what happened was we weren't in touch for a long time, and then when Catherine and Mary, the twins, opened the restaurant Nomads in Edinburgh, they had an opening night, and Maureen had just come back from working abroad, and Maureen and I got together, and it was just like there had never been any years in between. And she loved coming through to Edinburgh to socialise, and we're back to that thing of a drink in her hand, a And I would have to say that I feel very blessed that she decided that she would be a friend of mine for so many years and that we continue to have that contact. Went to America to visit another friend of mine, Maureen, drove across to the other side of Florida to take me back to Cape Coral?
Or 4 miles.
4 miles, the other person was in Cape Coral, I was getting mixed up. To spend time with her, and then Shona will tell a wee bit about another holiday that we had when we were in Orlando. And the one thing about Maureen was it didn't matter, every time she came back, we would took up, have a night in Edinburgh. She sometimes stayed at mine, sometimes didn't, came with Karen, which was amazing to meet her. It was just about every time you saw, there was no time in between. It was just like it was yesterday that you saw her. And I just think that's, even when Maureen herself was very ill, I was quite unwell. And Maureen just kept sending me messages telling me how much she was caring for me. So just Maureen, she was just an incredible human being, and our lives were all enhanced by the fact that she was part of our lives.
Yeah, you're very posh, Henry.
I knew that, well actually, but I got to know her
You
much
mentioned
later.
I forgot to mention this when he was talking about chores. We at Hospital Corners, every nurse, every event was made that way, every single day. And when it was changed, it was an incredible night at work, and you could have eaten your dinner off the floor, especially after we'd had things like dysentery and scarlet fever. My mum had the place after. Maureen, in that way, Maureen and my mum were very, very similar in that, you know, that we wanted, they knew that a good way to stay safe and well is to clean your house and have it. But we also, there's a nice story, not about a piece. Paddy had come home from school one day when my mum and dad
And she was immediately, no, she was the party queen. Always was, not a problem. I think the funniest thing that Lydia referred to earlier, we were on a Caribbean cruise, don't you know, and we had a few days in Orlando afterwards, so Maureen drove up to join us in Orlando, and she arrived with, I can only say, it was a mobile bar. She had every alcohol known to man, she had mixers, beer, wine, fizz, a nice box with ice, with snacks. But I think the best thing ever was she brought her blender to make margaritas. Of course she did. What else would she do? So we had a fantastic few days in Orlando, we were catching up, it was great. But I think the best one was on the Saturday night we went to downtown Orlando for a night in. That'd be great. So we ended up with a line dancing bar. And of course, being Scottish, we didn't realise just quite how seriously we did it. Until we up and we started doing the slosh. We were not amused at all. Which of course made us
This is Maureen.
We're all like, staying down with our mothers, but it is all.
Yeah. And this, you'll see that head sticking out belongs to one Frank Conley, who, I don't know where he's gone, where's Frank, he's still at the back there. And this is them all, I mean, love walking. This is Paddy on top, so, look at my keeping note.
I've been up for a disaster photograph here.
And that's next, Jack Bobby, and Maureen and the other one was fine. We quite often have friends of Paddy's coming. He's one of his best friends at the time, Gunther, who came with Beatty a big travel, and she began to think of where she could go to, and she really fancied Florida. So she left for Florida she graduated in 78, 79, and she went off to Florida, sat some exams, and became a registered nurse there. Unfortunately, she was what we call a alien,
A registered alien?
a registered alien, yes. Is that right? That's right, something. Anyway, you weren't allowed to stay, to reapply to stay, and she reapplied to stay, but they rejected her, and she had to come back to Scotland. But she got the travel bug. Here we are, welcome home, alien. Does anybody know whose this is? Or where that is? No, I was hoping somebody would know how they met. So this is from Neil telling me by text since Maureen passed. And said, tell me the story of how you met Maureen. He says, okay, I went out in a pub crawl with Jock Shaw from the Dockyard in 1984. Jock lived about 3 doors down from Paddy in Castle Blair. Jock's mother worked in Birkenhead High, with Paddy and John was back. As we walked in, Paddy was with Mo at the old inn. Hence the picture of the old inn. A guy I knew from karate class was talking to Mo. He had just got out of Milesmark and Mo had looked after him, nursing him. And I saw this redhead in a beige coat and I said to him, "Oh, and won't you introduce me to your girlfriend?" But she wasn't. Much embarrassment ensued and I was desperate to talk to this beautiful redhead. However, didn't succeed. Mo and I definitely met first at the old inn, but there was another time when I was in Paddy's flat in Castle Blair. This was after the first glimpse of the redhead. I just pulled it up from memory today. Jock Shaw was there, and that might be what Paddy was talking about, because Paddy said, "I'm sure we met in my house." This was after the old inn. I remember sitting at the dining table, and of course Mo was living with Paddy. I was trying to be outrageous and funny, because he wanted to ask her out, but he was too scared. Alcohol was involved. Anyway, after I made some comment, Mo went to the sink, filled a glass of water, and poured it over my head. This is a true story, and I deserved it. The story is true, but I did not have the courage to ask her out. I thought she would say no, so I tried to act cool and blasé, which got me soaked. I remember Mo showing me her Florida driver's license, and I just remember I did not want her to leave. Jock and I and the guys continued to go out on a Thursday for a few years. As we left Dunfermline, Jock said, "I can't take much more alcohol, can you just go?" Because at that time we were drinking bourbon, and our song was The Proclaimers, and I took from America was our song. He eventually did meet Mo in Sherry's with Paddy and the gang. She came home with me, and I knew things would never be the same again, and the rest is history. I thought I would share that with you. It's quite personal, as I know 90% of our either. Yeah, what can't. And of course, we got married, and the lovely picture we have of them in St Margaret's Church. And that's us all there. We're the bridesmaids this time, again. And the picture of all the girls. Yes, stand up if you're in that photograph, or wave all the girls from this and that. It's a lovely, lovely photo. And she was having such a good time. That's beautiful. Look. Having such a great time. This, I guess, is them going off on their honeymoon.
No, that's them getting the train to go to London.
Is it?
Yeah.
To London? That's so
Yeah,
lovely,
yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they're off on their honeymoon. And when Neil sent me this picture, he said, "We were on a boat with lots of other people, but we just didn't care." And here they are. That looks like Scotland to me. So
That's 1988. That's Edgar Grump.
oh, right.
This was a big trip we did with me and a couple from Newcastle. A few months ago, every day.
Yeah, well, we've got you here. I don't know where enough these bushes come from. And then we get to this point where Maureen is a nursing officer. She's an established nurse. She's doing well. She's nursing at the Western General. She's a cancer specialist nurse. Neil is at Cumnor Colliery. All the pits are closing, and Neil becomes unemployed. And it's quite worrying because he can get jobs, but they're really awful jobs. He had a couple of jobs as an enrollment matriculation officer for Edinburgh University or Berwick Lodge or somewhere. But it was a tough time, and it was a tough time for a lot of people. A lot of their friends were moving south and emigrating. Brother Brian had already emigrated to Canada, so Maureen and Neil took the plunge, and Florida was calling. Maureen had been out before. She knew she could get work. She already had athleticism, moving to Fort Myers, and Maureen, as you know, loved animals. And these are our first Fort Myers dogs, Max and Mindy. I think that's right. I got that right. And she just, even in our nurses, she always looked just so beautiful. And they love the life out there. And I think if you look closely, you can see there's something happening to Maureen's tummy there. And the long-awaited baby was still on its way when she was required in a post to help open Gulf Coast Hospital and the children's wing, and she literally worked up almost to the birth of baby because she didn't get leave. You were expecting them to do that. They wanted to retain their position. But here the baby's born, Kayleen arrives, and they were just so delighted. But you'll see the registered alien comes into play again because here they are. They had to be bring their lanyards when they were working in the hospital. And what happened, Neil said to me they had to, every 3 years, go and renew their card. But this time, Maureen was asked to go to London, and Kayleen was 3 months old. She said, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? And I was very friendly with the MP Rachel Squires at the time, and Rachel had a parliamentary flat in London, and she let Mo stay there, because Maureen was afraid if she got Kayleen, she wouldn't get back into America. So she got back, and here's the baby, so on they go. And Maureen got a reward because when they opened the children's hospital, they had the brochure. Who's the star in the brochure? Kayleen and Maureen. So she got her money back as to save all that hard work. And they had a good life, so I didn't need to do that so fast. Just so happy with her. She even brought her home a couple of times because I know this property isn't in America. So I take it that's one of her visits home. They were very happy. They had a really good life together. They worked very, very hard. Very, very hard indeed. But they were just very happy together. And here they are, proud mum and dad. Kayleen's graduating. Kayleen eventually became a forensic science officer and worked in the CSI. But the truth is, it's not that glamorous. She doesn't do it because mostly they're attending the scene of drug addicts or family murders. So after a wee while, she moved on from that. They were such good pals. And still good sports as well, all dressing up. And eventually a man called Sam the man came on the scene, and we thought this was it, and we decided to move to Tennessee, which was very hard for me and Maureen, but Maureen and Kayleen spoke every day on the phone. She would phone her mum while she was getting dressed for work, and we'd have a chat. And Maureen, of course, went up to Tennessee, but she told me she would never move there. She said they have seasons, and it gets very cold. And I said, oh, would you not like food this morning? No, she wasn't having it. You can see her, she's half up to the statement dressing this, it's cold here. But she also got to travel around Tennessee, and this is her visiting. Back home now, we've got visitors coming home. This was in the Pitfin, and we nearly got thrown out because Maureen was speaking very loudly with an American accent. Saying, just listen to you all. This is at John's 40th birthday. And this is her showing how to follow on her mum. And where are they? They're in the old inn. Here they are again. This is them back with Sam. Again, always catching up with family. Nice times. And this is them doing one of Paddy's trips. And really having a great time. But not only did they visit here, we of course wanted to visit
When I was a young woman, and I loved that. I spent a week with Mo and her family, Neil and Kayleen. It was a week I'll never forget. She made such an impression on me as a young female. Listened to all her stories about her life, and especially her big move to America, which I really admired. Maureen showed strength right up until the end, and she's missed by more people than she knows. I'd like to share the poem that Kate has asked me to read. Hopefully you think of Maureen when I'm saying this. A mighty wind blew night and day, it stole the oak tree's leaves away. snapped its boughs and pulled its bark, until the oak was tired and stark. But still the oak tree held its ground, while other trees fell all around. The weary wind gave up and spoke. How can you still be standing, oak? The oak tree said, I know that you can break each branch of mine in two, carry every leaf away, shake my limbs and make me sway. But I have roots stretched in the earth, growing stronger since my birth. You'll never touch them, for you see, they are the deepest part of me. Until today, I wasn't sure of just how much I could endure. But now I've found, with thanks to you, I'm stronger than I ever knew. Thank you very much.
Dean Village, yeah. I don't know how many people here have been to Dean Village at all before, but it's absolutely gorgeous, despite its slapping time. It's beautiful, yeah. Anyway, that was my first time away from home, really. I think what was really, getting used to life outside the family, like when your washing was done for you. So it was a learning curve. But Maury was great, and Maury made me feel. And like previous folk have said already today, she had a wonderful, wonderful sense of humour. Unbelievable, and really, really impulsive. And I remember, years ago, we stole the rent from Martin Irons. We went to Germany with Barry. So we travelled in the second family car. I'm not talking about the first family car, because the first family car was like a sports car that had holes in the floor. I don't know how it ever got through an MOT, to be on me. But even probably travelled in it, that's for sure. But it was the Vauxhall Viva, I think Barry remember, we were going to see Gunther in Cologne.
That was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. It was always breaking down before we went on the trip. And it made it the whole way to Cologne. And then when we were travelling back, it broke down.
So the other was at the football match.
Yes, that's right.
And the car was stationary, it would overheat.
Yeah.
And so we ended up being the last vehicle to leave. Was it not Liverpool versus Borussia?
Yeah.
1 o'clock in the morning.
All the Liverpool supporters were doing the bees.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
But no, it was just a fantastic time with Maury. As I say, she was spontaneous. And I don't think Martin ever forgive us for we were away, but it was a great holiday. That's what we do. But Maury made me feel really flat and really generous. And the nights that we had out together in Edinburgh, everybody said already what a party girl she was.
And Michael,
And she took me to places that I've never even seen.
stayed in Edinburgh, it was Frankie Hine from the side.
That's right.
He was a German speaking assistant.
Mhm.
And he got a flat underneath the bells, the church bells.
That's right.
You could go. So you brought your apple corn, schnapps hangover, and you were bong, bong, bong. Oh, it's unbelievable.
Beautiful time.
Thanks for that, I'm sorry. But you should say it.
I was waiting for revenge to give it to you big time. You're still going to get time.
You're lucky, Alan.
I'm Alison, or Ali as I think you know me, and when she passed away, I had written a letter that wasn't really ever meant for anything other than me, and I showed it to my mum, and she's asked me to say, so I'm going to do my best. Dear Auntie Moore, how can a home that's never had you in it suddenly feel empty? It's a special person who can give you a feeling of closeness, and despite us being thousands of miles apart, it always felt like you were next door. You were always the favourite part of every trip I went on, travelling thousands of miles, exploring the world, and then I'd see you, and it just felt like home. Sorry. Strap in, because there's quite a few paragraphs. One of my earliest memories of you was when we came to visit in 1996. We had just come back from visiting Orlando, and we were so hot and tired, and I said, I just want to jump in the pool with all my clothes on. And my mum said, don't you dare. And my Aunt Maureen said, you go for it, I'll put them in the dryer after. I think this is when I thought, yep, we're going to leave it alone just fine. Your sense of fun and mischief, I think, is one of the many reasons I kept coming back on my once-in-a-lifetime America holiday every year. Your kindness to me, my friends, my partner, and I'm sure if we'd had the chance, my children, was effortless and built into your character. You opened your arms, your heart, and your home to everyone I loved along with me, with unfailing generosity and enthusiasm to be part of our trip and make it the best one we could have. I remember you joining in with the Harry Potter hype, and despite having never seen any of the 7 previous films or read any of the books, you were desperate to come and see the final piece of the franchise because we were all excited. You cried and cried when Harry left Hermione and Ron to go and face Voldemort, knowing he was almost certainly going to face his own death. Your ability to sympathise with others and your empathic nature was even there for fictional characters who you only just met an hour ago. You looked after me like I was one of your own. I remember after my trip in 2011 when my Scottish skin was put through its paces after a beach trip, and you spent the whole evening and next day wrapping cold towels around me, rubbing aloe vera on my back. On another trip, you massaged my feet and made me an ice bath after covering miles upon miles at all the adventure parks. Even on our last trip, you wouldn't let me lift a finger and told me if I kept trying to help you, I was going to trip on your oxygen wire and kill you. Even in your darkest moments, your humour always tried to fight back. We messaged often, and although I hadn't quite sold you on the voice note, you enjoyed listening to my latest rambling updates of my life. Well, at least you told me you did. And we kept up through the good and bad days. You loved all the pictures and videos I'd send of all the green woods, parks, hills and mountains, and see how much you missed all that green. And then we'd laugh about how in order to get everything so green, how much rain had to fall. Like today. Then I think you missed it less. I sent countless pictures of the babies to you. You loved them and enjoyed getting to know them from a distance, and I could shower you with mounds of images, videos, sound bites, and you still say, keep them coming, which I also enjoyed, because I think you were maybe the only person who hadn't tired of me talking and obsessing over my kids. You were always one of my loudest cheerleaders, messaging me through life trials, triumphs and tribulations, celebrating house moves, birthdays, Christmases, pet updates, pregnancies, engagements and many more. The messages of encouragement when I went into labour, messaging continuously with inspirational quotes and good old fighting talk to get me through. You messaged me every day after my mum found out she had cancer and sent through such brave and fighting talk. Your mum's got guts in the fight just like me, you said, telling me everything would be fine. And the ladies are tough. Sorry. You weren't joking. It's almost over, I promise. All this while, you were continuing to fight your own painful battles in the background. You never missed a beat, and even though, as you were across the pond, you never failed in making me feel like I mattered. Sorry. And what's important, I'm pretty sure you one time even sent my gift congratulating me on getting to the end of a cold. I'm so sad you won't be dancing at my wedding and that my girls have missed the chance to know you. I'll tell them all about my Auntie Mo and my American adventures and be sure to encourage them to always jump in the pool with their clothes on. I'll think of you in the Abigail's chime on every beach adventure when I eat pickled onions and licorice all sorts, and when I see seashells and every time I look at my Christmas tree full of Auntie Mo specials. I hope you knew how much you meant to me and that I made you feel loved and important just like you did to me. I'm really going to miss you, and I hope we meet again one day. Until then, all I can say for one last time is, love you.